That was the clip of the arraignment. Dyreese Knight, that was the beginning when the judge read out the case number and who the case was for. Let's get into it. This the Block Report. This episode of the Block Report is brought to you by Bad Boy Bail Bond. Now, the judge, she called to Mr. Hedges. Mr. Hedges, that's Dyreese Knight's attorney. That's who he's sitting next to. But instead of Mr. Hedges standing up and taking the floor and speaking on his client's behalf, the prosecutor, Mr. Hoopla stood up and started talking. Now let's see what he said, because what he said is very important. Let's listen to it.
That the people are asking for a one-week adjournment in this matter. There was discussions with the Public Defender's Office in this case, talking about potential resolution to the case at the charging phase, in which the defendant had an opportunity to either resolve the case in state court or resolve the case at federal court. It's my understanding that there is a pending federal case that is being issued by the Western District of the United States U.S. Attorney's Office in this matter, and so we're asking for a brief adjournment. By then, I believe that the charging information will be provided by the U.S. Attorney's Office and the people will be dismissing the case.
All right, this is the same clip that I just played for y'all. I made it smaller and put myself in a frame. We about to break this down together. I like y'all to watch it once undisturbed, and then I want to come through and walk through it with y'all, and we're going to break it down together. So let's play the clip.
It's my understanding that, the people are asking for a one-week adjournment in this matter. There was discussions with the Public Defender's Office in this case, talking about potential resolution.
All right. Now, that's Amal Hoopla. That's one of the head prosecutors from Muskegon County. He on the other side of this pole right here. This courtroom kind of funny, and this pole always hiding people. But he on the other side. And like I said before, the judge spoke tonight, and his attorney, and asked if they have anything to say. But instead, the prosecutor stood up and said that they asking for a 1 week adjournment because they've been talking to the United States attorney, that's the federal prosecutor, and to his knowledge, there's a federal case about to be put on Mr. Knight. All right, if y'all not familiar with Mr. Knight, let me break down this case. Allegedly, he was pulled over in a car, and in this car was allegedly 6 pounds of crystal and a firearm. Behind this, they also raided 2 houses that allegedly are attached to him some type of way. I'm not saying he owned them. I'm not saying none of that. But pertaining to him, they were raided. And during those raids, 90 more pounds was allegedly found. Now, in state court, he's only charged with 6, and he only was given a $10,000 bond, which he posted, which he is out on bond. All right, now I'll get back into that. Let's go.
To the case at the charging phase, in which the defendant had an opportunity to either resolve the case in state court or resolve the case at federal court. It's my understanding that there is a pending federal case that is being issued by the Western District of the United States U.S. Attorney's Office in this matter, and so we're asking for a brief adjournment. By then, I believe that the charging information will be provided by the U.S. Attorney's Office and the people will be dismissing the case.
All right. Now, when they say dismissing the case, they don't just mean flat out dismissing the case. They get dismissed on a state level, and the feds pick it up and charge it on a state level. So it's a dismissal. All right. Now, that's serious. That's serious. So this is real serious. If they waiting on a federal case, that means this is about to cross over. And this is what I talked about in the other video that I put on private. All right. Now, once the feds get involved, they just pop up and they sit in the back of the courtroom and then you just disappear with them. But in this video, the block report, I want to go over what's called the federal sentencing chart. Hold up, let me pull it up. What you see on the screen is a federal sentencing table. Now, in the feds, it's different from the state. In the state, you got chances to take cops and pleas and bargain. They tight on space. But in the feds, it's a little different. They print money, they got space, they got contracts with county jails to hold you. They'll build a prison tomorrow. They don't care. And I say that to say this, they don't really negotiate a lot. So what you see on the screen is called the sentencing table, and it's clear cut. On one side, you got your base offense level, and that's for the crime that you did. And on another side, you have what's called your criminal background categories, your criminal history, and that's all your some misdemeanors and all your felonies. They add up and give you points. I'm gonna put this on the screen, and we're about to break this down. We about to read together what are the United States federal sentencing guidelines. Let's check it out. In 1984, a law called the Sentencing Reform Act established the United States federal sentencing guidelines. Before that, federal judges in the United States enjoyed a lot of discretion when sentencing defendants. However, this discretion sometimes resulted in different sentences around the country for the same criminal conduct. All right, for example, a defendant convicted of distributing a certain amount of cocaine in one part of the country might receive a harsher sentence than the defendant of distributing the same amount in another part of the country. The sentencing guidelines are designed to reduce big differences in sentences among similar situated defendants. All right. What a chart at. How do the United States federal sentencing guidelines generally work? The federal sentencing guidelines establish an offense level which is intended to account for seriousness of the offense, and criminal history category which is intended to account for the seriousness of the defendant's criminal history. The basic idea is that the higher the offense level and the higher the criminal history category, the longer the sentencing guidelines recommended sentence. All right. How is the sentencing guidelines offense level determined? All right. Each type of crime is assigned a base offense level, which is the starting point for determining the seriousness of a particular offense. The idea is that most serious crimes have more serious offense levels. For example, distribution of 150 grams of cocaine has a higher offense level than the distribution of 75 grams. Makes sense, right? All right. So, specific offense characteristics. In addition to base offense levels, each offense type normally has a number of specific offense characteristics. They mean, like, so if you get caught with a gun, you gonna get points for the serial number being scratched off. You gonna get points for it being stolen. You gonna get points for being on probation, on parole, not being out the system. It's a lot that you get points for. All right, similar to specific offense characteristics, adjustments increase or decrease the offense level. All right, it's just a bunch. And then you get the acceptance of responsibility after the fact. Let's just get to it. All right, I looked it up, and we can look it up together. Uh, all right, for a federal offense involving 96 pounds approximately 43.5 kilograms of methamphetamine, the sentencing guidelines are severe, placing the offense at the highest levels of the U.S. Sentencing Commission's drug quantity table. All right. Under this law, a drug quantity of 1.5 kilogram of more of ice or 15 kilogram or more methamphetamine triggers a base offense level of 38. 38. All right. Then we get into mandatory minimums, but let's just start at this base offense level 38 right here. Now let's go to the sentencing chart on base offense level 38. Right. Alone. No, they finna. Base offense level 38 is down here. Now, we ain't even got into the criminal history. Cause it go like this. You get points for your criminal history. You got 2, 3, 4 felonies and some misdemeanors. You might be a category 3. I think when I got sentenced, I think I was a category 4 or 5, one or the other. And you take your base offense level, which would be 38. So if it was me and I was base offense level 38 with category 5 in criminal history points, that's right here. Then you would go down to 38 and then 360 to life. Now then you got to remember, you got to add firearms points, serial numbers. Well, they might not be stolen. I'm hearing people have licenses and whatnot, and I don't think his background is bad. I think he got his expunged. I don't know. Don't quote me, but I don't think he really been in a lot of trouble. So even if his criminal history is 1, base offense level is still 38 with still have to add points for stuff like the gun and all that type of stuff, school zones, etc. That's how it go. And then you take some points off for like acceptance of responsibilities and whatnot.
Potential resolution to the case at the charging phase, in which.
And that's the part I don't understand. Potential resolution at the charging phase. What that mean?
Charging phase, in which the defendant had an opportunity to either resolve the case in state court or resolve the case at federal court.
And the defendant had an opportunity either to resolve the case in state court or go over to federal court.
It's my understanding that there is a pending federal case that is being issued by the Western District of the United States.
All right. Now, my bad. We ain't even got into what's called a 924C. And that's when you got the drugs with the gun, and it's an extra 5 years tacked on to whatever you get for the drugs. So on top of that base offense level being 38 or whatever it may jump to with the other points, you still have to do 5 additional years. Well, I think you do them first, or either it's first. I think you do that first, then you start the other sentence. Like in a state, how you got a felony firearm. Well, in a state joint, it's called a 924C. Yep. Let's look at it. Here we go. Let's look up 924C. It already start with federal mandatory minimum sentences. Here we go. Section 924C requires the imposition of one of a series of mandatory minimum terms of imprisonment upon conviction for misconduct involving a firearm and the commission of a federal crime of violence or a federal drug trafficking offense. All right. if a machine gun, silencer, short barrel rifle, short barrel shotgun, or body armor is involved, the offense is punished more severely. If the firearm is brandished or discharged, the offense is punished more severely. Which, if you just have it, is 5. If you brandish it, is 7. And the offense is punished. Repeat offenders are likewise punished more severely. They get 25-year mandatory minimums. I done seen somebody rob a bank. Well, the first bank you get like 10 for the gun and whatever you get for the bank. But then once you rob like 5 banks, they start stacking up to 25-year charges. So I done seen people with hundreds of years from a few bank robberies. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, the United States Sentencing Commission has suggested that Congress consider amending the Section 924C to address the stacking of 25-year charges for multiple offense. But in this case, it'll most likely be just 5 years tacked on to whatever. So when you get to the sentencing chart, when we get to that sentencing table and they go to level 38, you know what I'm saying? And it's in the 200-month range and the 360 to life, and it only goes down, and you get to that life plus that 5, yeah. So, all right, the next thing I want to talk about is something called a safety valve. I just want the definition of the safety valve. All right. A federal sentence safety valve is a legal provision that permits judges to sentence non-violent, low-level drug offenders below mandatory minimums if they meet 5 specific criteria, such as having minimal criminal history and no leadership role. It acts as a necessary exception to unjust, harsh punishments for minor offenders. And unlike cooperation agreements, it does not require snitching. All right. But you can't have firearms and you can't have criminal history. So that cuts that out. Catch y'all May 7th, man. See if he go through with the prelim or see if 2 federal agents be in the back waiting on him to take him to Nuevo County and to the federal building. Thank y'all for watching the Block Report. See y'all next time.